Curses, hexes, jinx, bindings, reversals, baneful magic. Let's talk about it. Hi, lovely witch. My name is Rosa. I'm the Divine Feminine Witch, and I help witches feel empowered through working with the goddess. The dark feminine aspect of the goddess and the aspect that I channel Lilith through is righteous rage. And what is righteous rage? There is so much into that. And a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on baneful magic. That is a part of righteous rage, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. I already know that this topic is a little controversial, especially here on YouTube. I have searched just to see what comes up for baneful magic on here, and there's a lot of hot takes. People are very opinionated, but people also don't know enough about it because the people that are very opinionated don't necessarily want to give enough information. So I'm going to give you the rundown, the basics today, and I want to also talk about ethics, when to use it, if it's right to use it, what is it even called, different definitions. We're going to go over all of that right now. This is a video you might want to take notes on, so grab a pen and a paper, maybe grab a cup of tea or a soda, sit down with me, let's talk about baneful magic. I do want to preface this by saying this is based off my personal gnosis, my study, my research, my understanding of the topic. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that this is the only way, okay? No dogmas up in here. I do not subscribe to dogmas, okay? All right. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. So let's get into it. What is baneful magic? I want to immediately start by saying that this is not the difference between white and black magic. Those are old terms, and those are terms rooted in supremacy and racism. These are terms that I see more on movies and fiction books and things like that. But every now and then I do hear some witches in the witchy community say these terms, and I just want to emphasize that these are outdated terms and we should stop using them. When you're referring to what people think of as black magic, that is baneful magic. I do have notes, so if you see me reading off screen, I'm reading my notes, okay? Baneful magic is any form of spell work or ritual intended to cause harm, misfortune, or distress to another person, entity, or object. The word baneful is derived from bane, meaning to cause destruction or serious harm. There are several types of workings that fall under the baneful category, including hexes, curses, jinxes, bindings, and reversals. By the way, everything that I will be talking about today will be found in this book, Embodying Lilith, including spell work that is aligned with this topic. You can get the ebook version of this book on my website or the physical copy on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. I'll have all those links in the description. A curse, a hex, and a jinx are somewhat similar, and people confuse them to mean the same thing, but they are different. A jinx is the most minor of all of these. This type of spell tends to just cause annoyance or inconveniences for someone. It's a little bit of bad luck and generally lesser than a hex or a curse. A hex would be the next level up. This type of spell work is meant to cause misfortune for a certain time period, often serving as a warning or a lesson. This can make a person feel like they are experiencing a lot of bad karma. A curse is more long-term from all of these and can sometimes even be permanent. This is something that can linger through ancestral lines and at times can be really challenging to remove. Now, I did also mention bindings and reversals. Not everybody agrees that these are baneful, but they can be baneful. They can. For example, you could bind yourself to success. That's not necessarily baneful. However, a binding can also stop or inhibit somebody's actions. You could simply prevent them from causing harm, or you could bind them to harm. And there is a lot of different ways to do bindings. A reversal is a bit of defensive magic, and a lot of people seem to be okay with reversals, or at least more okay than with the other things I've mentioned so far. This is basically sending back anything that was sent to you. So if somebody was trying to harm you, then that energy will get sent back to them. It's not necessarily you actively harming them, it's them facing repercussion for what they try to inflict upon you. This one's also commonly known as a return to sender. If you follow me on social media, you know that I am all for Baneful Magic. I think that it is a great way to get justice. Now, absolutely not, that is not the only way that Baneful Magic can be used. People can be completely shitty people and choose to harm others just for the hell of it. That is definitely where I draw the line. I think you shouldn't be just throwing out hexes and curses just because of it, or just to see if you can, or just because you're being petty. I don't think that's necessarily healthy, and that can eventually harm you, and we'll get more into that in just a little bit. But because I do post about basically encouraging Baneful Magic and telling others that I provide this as a service, I often get the question, do you ever fear that it's going to come back to you? So let's explore that a little bit. A lot of people who are new to witchcraft tend to be exposed to Wicca first. Most popular books and content on witchcraft are Wiccan based, and that's because for the longest time it wasn't socially acceptable to be a witch or to talk about witchcraft. And Wicca was introduced in the 50s specifically as a religion that can incorporate witchcraft, but it is not the religion of witchcraft. Witchcraft is not religion based. I do believe that Wicca was created as a way to make witchcraft more palatable and socially acceptable, but you do not have to be Wiccan to be a witch. Now, I bring up Wicca because that is where that belief of things backfiring and coming back to you stems from. There's a lot of rules in Wicca. For the Wiccan Read, it's like a really long guide that basically tells you what's right and what's wrong. And there's a particular part that says, "An ye harm none, do what ye will." And this phrase basically means if you do no harm, you can do as you wish. This is also where the threefold law comes from. It basically means that whatever you put out will come back to you 3 times. That is a Wiccan belief. That is not factual. That is not something that all witches believe in. It is not a rule that needs to be followed in order to be a witch. I am not Wiccan, nor have I ever been, because I did do some extensive research before deciding if I was even interested in paganism, and that's when Wicca came up. First of all, it is a religion that was made up by a man. And I know there are other divisions of Wicca now, and there's one that's specifically goddess based, and a woman created that subsection of Wicca. But regardless of that, all of Wicca is very new aged in a sense, and everything that is in there is essentially cultural appropriation. There are so many different cultural beliefs that were just packaged into one neat little gift with a bow that makes it palatable for society to be okay with witches. Now, I am not against Wicca, okay? I do think it's questionable. Like any other religion, I think is questionable, in my opinion, from what I've researched. And it's just something that doesn't resonate with me. I'm not trying to discourage you from being Wiccan. You can be Wiccan if you want. I just highly encourage you to do some research on that religion and why it was created and what all is even behind it. So yeah, that was a long way of me saying I do not believe in the threefold law. Now, on social media, there is yet another term that gets thrown around a lot: backlash. What if you receive backlash from your spell? Will you receive backlash from this? I get that a lot. I see that everywhere, so let's talk about it. It's important to remember that magic is neither good nor bad. It's neutral. What makes something good or bad is based off of your actions, your intention, And that's also based off of your moral beliefs. Sending out harm for petty reasons or unresolved projection isn't necessarily a good thing or a good enough reason, and may cause backlash. And the backlash I'm referring to isn't necessarily the way that Wiccans perceive it. It's more so repercussions such as remorse, followed by an unsettling ease that will then cause your own energy to be off balance. And because your energy is kind of draining and negative, you will self-inflict bad luck. If you believe that bad things are going to come for you, then bad things will come for you. You will attract bad energy. I included Baneful Magic in my book, Embodying Lilith, because it is essentially harnessing righteous rage to get justice. I'm not encouraging you to be harmful just for the hell of it. I'm not encouraging you to be petty and vindictive. In today's society, there are a lot of instances where justice is not received by the lawful way. And so sometimes, in order to defend yourself or to fight back, we use magic. Our ancestors used this kind of magic, and they never segregated what was good or bad magic. They just knew that it was neutral and it was based off of your own beliefs. I do also want to point out that it is super, super important to have protections up and ready before you start practicing Baneful Magic. Baneful Magic is really high energy, and it will attract certain things that you may not want in your spiritual space. It may attract spirits and entities. It may attract people with ill intentions. You want to be cautious. So you have to make sure that you have protections up. Normally, when I am practicing any kind of these spell work, I will have cleansed my space or created kind of like a bubble of protection around me. I will light my protection candle. I also have several protection wards that are always refreshed. And after I am done, I will have a cleansing ritual. You want to have a good, strong routine of protection magic and cleansing, and you want to be consistent with it. All right, my lovely witch, I don't want to make this video extensively long because I could. I really could. Let me know if you want to know more about this topic. Maybe I can talk about how to set up, how to properly set up for when you're doing some kind of hex or curse. I'm not going to give you hexes or curses on here. I'm not going to do that just because first of all, I don't have the proper setup to do a full-on tutorial on YouTube yet. I will eventually have some tutorials on here, but I won't be sharing Baneful Magic just because there's a lot of beginners on here, and I really don't want to have beginners just dive right into Baneful Magic, okay? I don't want to sound like I'm gatekeeping, but there are certain things that you need to have implemented into your practice. You need to have researched before you start practicing this kind of stuff. And like I said, if you do want to practice this kind of stuff, I have it all right here for you. I have some really good ones that you can also curate to whatever you want to use them for. All right, so hopefully today's video was valuable to you. Hopefully this was insightful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with somebody you think might benefit from it. Have a blessed day, lovely witch.